Broadcasting from the studios of Business RadioX, it's time for the Good2Give Podcast. This show is underwritten by the Community Foundation for Northeast Georgia, connecting people who care with causes that matter. Now, here is your host.
Hello and good morning. This is Maria Walden with the Community Foundation for Northeast Georgia, sitting here with my co-host, DePriest Waddy.
Good morning, everybody. Great to be here.
DePriest is the president CEO of the Community Foundation, and I am the development officer. And we're here to meet with a fantastic guest today, Jen Guynn with the Pebble Tossers. And so, Jen Guynn, that's just way too the rhyme here. Welcome. Thank you for being here, and we're just excited to hear all about what you guys have going on.
Thank you. So excited to talk with you both.
Yeah. DePriest, did you want to say anything before we jump in with Jen?
I'm really excited about this particular time with Jen because I am really big on youth and service. I come from a very strong background and passion of youth development, and I just think that it shapes our youth for the future. And as I get older, I'm really encouraged by how youth are just taking the country by storm in so many different ways. And I think we've got some really great leaders that are emerging. So Jen, I compliment you and your team on this great work.
Thank you. It's been really exciting for us to watch kids as they level up and as they mature and develop and into the people that they've become, and knowing that we've played a little teeny part in that. It's heartwarming. Well, it also gives me I look into the future and I'm like, okay, yes. Yay.
That's right. It is our future. You're the founder and the executive director of Pebble Tossers. What caused you to found an organization? Before we jump into everything, I want to know where your heart is and why you started this.
Yeah. So my co-founder and I were struggling with trying to find places where our kids could serve. I'm an Atlanta native. I grew up here and I grew up serving. And at the time, 16 years ago, my kids were much younger and nobody wanted an 8-year-old boy to come and volunteer at a nonprofit. They're like, liability. But we were both convinced and so sure that kids they're an untapped power. They have a lot to give. They have a lot to learn. And it was really our belief that kids can make a difference. You always hear like, what can you do? What can one person do? But when you're bringing all these youth together, and they're meeting each other, they're meeting kids that they would have never met before to serve the most vulnerable in our community. That was really our impetus for let's teach them about the different cause areas that are out there. Let them learn at an early age so that they grow up with that heart for service and that servant leadership mindset.
I love that. And DePriest and I were at a podcast yesterday, and I was sharing a little bit about, and just on a personal note, my mother was very philanthropic, and at that time didn't even realize what she was doing and how it's really shaped why I do what I do now. But we were allowed to take, like young girls do, dance lessons, but the only way we could do that, and she said that, okay, we have to serve. So we would have to do our practice in front of the elderly at convalescent homes. And so we were taught at a very young age to serve, but that was like you give and get and that kind of scenario. And it's really just become part of my DNA. And I love what you're doing because I didn't even know that she was doing what she did and the service she's done for me. And now my son does the same thing and my granddaughter. So it really is so huge. And anyway, thank you for doing what you do, because that is so impressive.
It's one of those things where if kids learn, like you were just dancing in your mind, you're dancing, you're practicing, you're enjoying it. But what you were bringing to those elders in that community was connection and enjoyment and just it was so much more, but you were doing something that you liked. And kids need to understand that's service. It can be something that's fun. It doesn't have to be something that's compulsory or awful.
Right. Oh my gosh. What were you going to say, DePriest?
I was just going to say, when I was a kid, I know I'm dating myself, our opportunities for citizenship were very limited. So it was either student government at school or doing some type of a volunteer project at church. To see that this is scaled to the point where this is very universal and it's very relatable from one child to being integrated into the world of service. I just think that having that roadmap and that little trail of popcorn to get there is phenomenal. And that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah. And we've got 12 different cause areas where people can come and dabble if they want and learn about each of these cause areas and we try to teach the root cause of these things. So kids understand why they're serving and what they're doing and who they're serving and how what they're doing actually makes a difference. We're not just going and picking up trash or stacking cans. And we're learning about environmental stewardship. We're learning about hunger, scarcity, and food deserts and things like that. And we're trying to teach as we go. And we teach our service leaders and all of our staff. It's more than just the physical activity. There is that deeper meaning that will touch the kid's heart and hopefully change their outlook and their perspective when they go someplace else.
Yeah, I agree. And before we go any further, I have to ask, the Pebble Tossers, all I could think of is the ripple effect. Is that?
Yeah, our tagline is start a
ripple of giving. And I think of skimming the rock and
Amazing.
How far it goes. I think this is phenomenal. And you're right. And it becomes part of the lesson in growth. I feel like I'm an example. And DePriest, I think it sounds like you too.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
And the causes that you have 12 different cause areas. And so can you name those? Just out of curiosity, just like going down that list of where your focuses are.
Yeah, gosh, the arts and culture, education, animals, the environment, citizenship and social justice, hunger, homelessness, vulnerable communities, family stabilization, troops and veterans. We try and provide an introduction into a lot of these areas and just to let kids know that it's not just a one-stop shop or not just a one thing, one size fits all. We have all kinds of different opportunities every week that people can get involved in.
Is it typically young adults and their parents or young adults singularly, or do the parents introduce their kids to Pebble Tossers, or how does that introduction work?
Yeah, that's a good question. Even though we've been around 16 years, people are like, "Oh, you're the best kept secret in Atlanta." And I'm like, we don't want that. But a lot of times schools are a good introductory spot for us. We've got a service learning subscription that educators can subscribe to. We teach about service learning, but then also since so many kids have to have service hours in order to graduate, there's a lot of high school students and middle school students that use our platform to find projects that are age appropriate, then also to record their service hours on our platform. We just really expand our reach through word of mouth. One family, comes to a project and they have so much fun, and the kid I want to bring a friend, and then those friends come. We love it when kids come by themselves to projects, but we are not a babysitting service. So we don't want a family to drop off their 7 and 10-year-old at a project and the parents be like, "See ya." We really encourage families to serve together. It's a great opportunity for parents to see their kids level up and rise to the level of responsibility that we give them. Oftentimes parents will be like, "Oh, I'll handle that for you." And we're like, "Thank you. No, parent, hey mom, I've got a job for you over here. Let's let little Johnny carry the wheelbarrow or whatever it is." There's just a lot of ways that we can push that sense of responsibility on kids, and they always rise up to it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in my past, I was part of building or answering the question as to how you build resilience in a person and in a child. And I see some really key fundamental ingredients on how you're doing some protective factors and some building of resilience in children that's really going to serve them long term very well.
And as you say that, I think of the giving back and what it does for your mentality. And I probably going to be reprimanded for saying this, but children I feel like a lot of children these days are entitled or feel entitled, and that giving them a sense of service or giving back and knowing what else is going on in the world, not just themselves or in their scope of social media. I think this is imperative.
It's always humbling when you see, a population that's really in need that you can help.
Right.
And it's very humbling as a child when you see that everybody doesn't live like you. They don't operate the family system doesn't operate like your family system does. It really helps them to just not take advantage of the blessings that they have.
That's so true. And you're right. Knowing what else is going on in the world, I think we become just what's going on right in front of us. So Jen, I bet you see a lot of that and the transformation.
Yeah. And we work with a lot of Title I schools also. And a lot of times those are the kids who are recipients of service, but we're empowering them with the ability to serve and give back to somebody else also. And that is one of a neat thing that we've experienced. When kids have their first time volunteering, it's really cool for them to experience that with us, because we try and provide like a safety net. It's hard. My husband's always like, it's hard to mess up service. There are ways, but for the most part, if you've got snacks, makes people happy, and then you're doing something meaningful, then they want to be there and they want to get it. And some of that entitlement, it goes away. It goes away. Yeah.
I could see that, because when you provide service to someone, the feeling that you get inside, and as a child, if they get and that resonates, they want more, or at least I do, wants more of it. And going back to dating ourselves, this will share. And if anyone's listening would know what this is, I will be shocked. So I didn't realize, like I said, my mother was doing this, but I went outside the box and joined this organization called the Johnny Horizon Club. Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
Okay, I'm telling you, I'm old. But it was all about the environment, and you had to write in, and you had to do so many things, and it was it was like the same time frame of don't give a hoot, or give a hoot, don't pollute, whatever that slogan. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
That same.
It's the same
but
thing.
there aren't many around to do that. So where did my mother had to instill this, which I love, that you're planting that seed like someone did for me. And that, but are you only in Georgia, or are you franchised, or could you franchise, or because I think all children need this?
Yeah, no, and that's expanding our area, our service area is part of our strategic plan. But right now we're only in Metro Atlanta. Yeah.
What are the key ingredients to like the organizational structure that makes this happen? If you had to operationalize the Pebble Tossers kind of programmatic model, what does that look like?
We have gone deep into social emotional learning, positive psychology, and just the principles of positive youth development. We've incorporated all of that into our own service learning curriculum. Everything can be an opportunity to grow from, and if you just reformat your brain a little bit of like, how can, this lesson be, how can we incorporate service learning into this lesson to where maybe you're not just learning about the environment, but then there's a switch on it and you're learning more about environmental stewardship or environmental conservation. Our model right now is such that there's a lot of boots on the ground. We've got really strong relationships with over 65 different nonprofits, throughout Metro Atlanta. We create programming with them. So sometimes that maybe they've got a project or an idea that they want to do, but they don't have necessarily the manpower or the expertise to go deep in that. And so they'll reach out to us and we'll create a program or we'll create a project, specific with other organizations. And we've got educators on board. We've got social workers on our team. So we've got the know-how and the expertise to be able to craft and curate a different experience depending on who needs it and what people are looking for.
Very nice.
So you said 65 other not-for-profits, but what about corporations? Do you work with them in doing service projects with the kids, maybe of the employees or something like that?
Yeah, we love doing corporate days of service, and we really love it when corporations, like if they'll do it on a weekend or after hours where families can be involved, because one, that helps kind of bolster an employee's satisfaction, like, oh, my company is doing this and my family can be involved in that. It's not taking more time away from my family, but we can all do this together. It's a double win for sure.
I love that. And I don't know, I'm sure you have a real strong and robust team that backs this up. But I was just with a corporation the other day, and I'll do a shout out for Access. And they have done tremendous amount of volunteerism in creating these types of programs. So I don't know if you're working with them, but
we are actually.
A
couple years ago, they were sponsors of our 5K, the Ripple Run. Yeah.
Beautiful. And they actually have a fund for all the employees on a regional basis to be able to be philanthropic and give back and things like that, which is what we're talking about with the Community Foundation, as we're the convener and helping those employees know where to go and be philanthropic, but also how to invest those dollars. And as we are always trying to grow the community financially and also through education. But how I love this idea of the corporations, because we're always talking to people and organizations, and this could definitely be a benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And when we work with these other nonprofit organizations, we've got like different tiers and different levels of service that we do in the community. And we created some of our own projects, Pebble Tossers does, that we do directly for the community. And then we also work with some of these nonprofits and say, hey, we'll take a whole shift of working in the warehouse, or we'll create different events for different clients of theirs. And we do it completely turnkey. So maybe there's somebody who's letting us in the door, but other than that, Pebble Tossers has got all the details. We bring all the supplies, all the snacks, enough for all of our volunteers and for the clients that we're serving. It's really a full service or entity that we provide marketing reach for our nonprofits, because like when we promote the projects to our 7,000, distribution list, our members and our volunteers are learning about those organizations. And then those organizations are getting, new volunteers.
Do you have a time of year that you're busier? And the reason I say that is Christmas is coming. We're in the last quarter. People think, oh, it's our busiest time, as people want to open a donor advised fund, or, oh my gosh, it's like those C&E people that only go to church Christmas and Easter. It's Christmas time. And you know what? I'm going to do a volunteer project because it's that time of year. Do you find that?
We do. And usually around the holidays, mostly around Thanksgiving, but then also right before spring break when service hours are due at schools. And people are like, oh my gosh, I've got to get 50 hours in 2 weeks. And, so those are our bigger times. And we know they're coming. And so we have more projects during those times. And we try and encourage families like, hey, don't just think about it at Thanksgiving or at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Think about it in July. Think about it in October. We've got projects all year round.
I love it. If you're just joining us, DePriest and I are talking to Jen Guynn. I'm going to have trouble with the Pebble Tossers.
You just say Jennifer Guynn. Just do it that way. Yeah.
Jennifer. Yeah. I like it though. Is that a married name?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So you inherited that. I bet when you were dating, it was like, wait, am I going to be called Jen Guynn? Or not? Okay. All right.
Yeah. A lot of my friends, it was one word. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Let's talk about how the Community Foundation can help organizations like yours in promoting what you do through our education, and we'd love to hear how we can help you. DePriest, you want to take this one?
We generally have a number of families that are asking how they can roll up their sleeves and give back. And I do see that there's some opportunities here. We even talked about some folks that we know in common that are already, involved in Pebble Tossers, which I think is phenomenal. The other opportunity that I see, quite frankly, is protective factors. I'm really interested, Jen, in what you're seeing around that parent-child relationship, and if that's changing, and if those dynamics of how children are seeing the world differently based on the work that you're doing and putting forth with them, because I think there's some really powerful stories that we can partner and share and tell in the world.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's so interesting when I get parents and even grandparents coming to us and saying, my kid needs to be introduced to more things in the world. They need to get outside their bubble, or they need community service in order to build a stronger work ethic. And it's people's motivations for service they vary. And so it's great when parents come to us and they say, we want to do this together. We want to pass down our family values and teach our kids through experiences, shared experiences, because there's so much data and research. When a child volunteers at an early age, they tend to volunteer throughout their life. But when they volunteer with their family at an early age, their engagement level for their lifetime changes. They serve on boards, they sign up for committees, they chair galas or whatever. They feel more strongly that sense of responsibility and the fact that they can make a difference through their actions, even if it's just writing a check or if it's signing up to be a board member or whatever it is. That sense of responsibility starts off as a child, and then as your perspective changes and as you have more experiences, you really see the value of what giving back, community service, civic engagement, what it really means to the community, because it just strengthens the community in such a different and more profound way.
Do you post upcoming projects on your website or in a public place?
We do. We've got them on our web. We've got a service calendar that you can just click a button on the front page of our website, and it shows you all the projects we have for, throughout the month. And then we post on social media our upcoming projects. And we also send out a newsletter. Our members receive it every Sunday, and then non-members and just other friends of Pebble Tossers get it the first of each month. Each of our cause areas, we feature an educational component at the first of the month. We have 12 cause areas. There's 12 months. And so we introduced something new each month.
Fantastic. That's also a great opportunity for us to partner with you in sharing with our fund holder community, because they're oftentimes looking for a repository or a catalog of ways that they can give back. And so this is a one-stop shop in many ways.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And we've got this great platform where people and we're membership based. And so an individual membership is 50, and then a family membership of 5 people is $159, and it's a whole year. And you sign up for as many projects as you want, but you also record your service hours, and then you can record a reflection about that. And then at the end of the year, if you've got to turn that into your school or scouts or for college, it's a great way to keep track of all the projects that you do, not just with Pebble Tossers, but if you're doing something on your own, you can track all those hours in one spot as well.
Fantastic.
I love that's what we do with and why to have a donor advice fund. It's a one-stop shop, and you can go to one place, see where your receipts are philanthropically. And and it makes things easy. I immediately was thinking, gosh, there's so many different types of partnerships you probably could build on. And this is going to sound weird, but I know there's a lot of the police department. There are a lot of mandatory community service projects, and whether it be a DOI or whatever it is. And I think my immediately thought was, wow, what a great partnership, because people don't necessarily want to go out and do that by themselves. But if they got the opportunity to actually do something, not just because of a situation, but to really plant that seed in as a future, as you said, teaching to the kids. I commend you. I'm a big fan. This is amazing.
So am I.
Yeah. So what events are coming up? Let's talk about specific events. We pulled it up while we're sitting here. Looks like you have a lot of them listed, but what are the few that are coming up that if someone's listening and said, you know what, that sounds like something I want to get involved in?
Yeah. Gosh, it depends on where you are in Metro Atlanta, because we've tried to reach out to the different quadrants. If you're looking at 285 and 400, where you want to go, we're partnering with the National Environmental Education NEEF Foundation, and working with International Paper as a sponsorship for National Public Lands Day, and that's on this Saturday, the next Saturday, for a fun park cleanup. and those are great in the fall. It's great weather. And we can take a lot of people. And then we're going to be giving a little environmental stewardship education session, and then going out and doing some cleanup. We've got a fun kind of a pop-up project with Patagonia, the Patagonia store along the Beltline. We're making snuffle mats for shelter dogs. So we're taking recycled clothing, and they're upcycling it, and we're making these little enrichment activities for dogs. And we will have a few little dogs out there. Gosh, we've got a project coming up next month with the Atlanta Mission. We're going and doing like a fun activity for the women and children who are staying there. Every month we do projects at assisted living centers where we're going and just by having a fun activity. When the Olympics were on, we had some Olympic events with like pool noodles, and it was just so much fun. So it depends on what people's interests are. And we've tried to cover a lot of different interests. Whether you like outside stuff or you only want to be inside stuff because you got allergies or whatever. So we've got a lot of different opportunities for people to get engaged wherever they are, personally, developmentally, things like that.
It sounds so diverse. I love the snuffle idea. And in fact, I will be reaching out. I know that you are you said membership based, but do you do events to also fundraise?
Yes.
And is there anything coming up or talk to us about that? How do you fundraise?
Yeah. So our 16th anniversary is on the 26th of September, actually. And so next week, we're kicking off a fun week of different activities that we've got, some pop-up things, and then Lazy Dog Restaurant.
Yeah.
It reached out to us like, hey, we want to help you. And so they've got a little spirit night, things like that. And we've got, I think all of it's on our website, all the dates and activities. And we've got some just like the project for the National Public Lands Day is a big, because we can take a lot of people at that location. And so if that's an open project, so you don't have to be a member to sign up for that project. We do have open projects every month also. If you want to just come and experience a Pebble Tossers project, you don't have to join. And we also offer scholarships because we never want the $50 for a year to be a barrier of entry. But we do have like a little fundraising campaign going on right now for our 16th anniversary. And a small nonprofit, everything we raise goes right back into programming. We've got a teen leadership program that we've kicked off our 5th cohort, and we've got 49 kids this year from, I think, 28 different schools throughout Greater Atlanta. And then in the first of the year, we're super excited about this. We're kicking off our middle school leadership curriculum. And we've been in development of that, a lot of research and development. Just middle school kids right now after COVID, there's just so many different things that they need. And I'm excited about the curriculum that we've developed for that. But if anybody's interested in middle school kids, we'd love if they want to come and be a sponsor of that program, that'd be amazing, or any of our programs. Or people can even sponsor certain cause areas. If they've got maybe a special place in their heart for animals or the elderly, we've got, again, 12 different cause areas that we'd love people to help boost support in those areas.
DePriest, maybe we should have a CFNEG day and invite any of our fund holders that have young children to expose them to specific areas. I think this would be a phenomenal way to do that. So
that would be great.
Yeah. You have a small team. How many people are on your team?
7.
Wow.
Yeah. And two of us are full-time, and everybody else is part-time contractor.
I see. You're a lot like us, lean and mean. Do you have an office, or does everyone work remotely?
We have a co-working space, and then we have all of our stuff, all of our supplies, and we work out of one of our nonprofit partners, Inspired EDU. They've got a warehouse like on the West End, and so we do a lot of projects there and team meetings, and again, all of our stuff is there.
Yeah.
Eventually, we hope to be working out of that space more, but right now they're renovating it. Everybody kind of works from home, and we have team meetings every week that we all get together. So a little flexible on that side of things.
We work with a lot of different nonprofits. And so the reason I was asking that question is that we help to create and develop rainy day funds. And there's that roof that's leaking or some expenses that you just don't know. You need that reserve. Right. And so I was thinking, wow, where would you house that? And does that something that you have to do and think about as far as a reserve fund, or what do you do long term to make this sustainable?
That is a great question. Ideally, we do have an investment account, and ideally we would want our own space that we could just have all of our meetings and all of our session and everything. And we probably would need maybe 2,000 square feet, someplace convenient to public transportation, because we've got a lot of kids that don't have access to transportation, so they would need to take public transportation. But long-term sustainability, for us, we look at our membership as really a great way to grow our base. So we always need volunteers, and with the membership, that way it's revenue generating and also generating the volunteers we need.
I love it. And DePriest, do you have any thoughts? My wheels are just spinning. Jen,
Good.
you are just really, I'll be honest, before we started chatting, I didn't know the depth of what you do. And this resonates so clearly with my whole life. And I know the impact of what I do for work was impacted based on that exposure. So kudos, really huge fan. Anything, I know that we've got to wrap this up, but DePriest, any thoughts as to where that, I know you talked a little bit about our fund holders, but is there anything else you want to share?
Just how excited I am that we have able to spend this time together, because I think that this is something that can cross a lot of boxes for a lot of our folks who are in our network. So Jen, I think we've got some talking to do moving forward.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'd love to.
Cross-pollinating.
Yeah. So Jen, if those that are listening want to get involved, our project, become a member, whatever, how do they reach you? How do they find this?
Yeah, pebbletossers.org. And if you think of it as, some people like rock throwers or whatever, like, no, just Pebble Tossers. We're on all social media platforms, pretty much at Pebble Tossers with an S on the end, or just Google Pebble Tossers. And we're probably the only thing that's going to come up for that. Yeah. Our website has a wealth of information. We've got a lot of at-home projects and things like that, downloadable information sheets that families can sit around the kitchen table and download the sheet and have those interesting conversations at the kitchen table. So there's a lot of good stuff on our website.
We do this with my granddaughter, the table conversations, and it's one of her highlights whenever she's over. So thank you so much. So if someone wanted to reach you directly, how would they do that?
Yes. My email is JGUYN, like a guy with two N's is my last name, Guynn, and at pebbletossers.org.
Wow. Thank you so much for doing that and making time to share what you're so passionate about. And we are just excited to have you become part of our family too at CFNEG. Yes. We're going to close out until next time. DePriest, any final thoughts?
This is great. Thank you again. And we look forward to great things ahead.
We are excited. And Jen, I'll definitely be in touch with you. But thank you all for listening today. We are Good to Give with the Community Foundation for Northeast Georgia. Had Jen Guynn from Pebble Tossers with us today, and she is the founder and executive director. Please reach out, get involved, and share service with your children.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Until next time.
Thank you for joining us on the Good to Give podcast. This show is underwritten by the Community Foundation for Northeast Georgia, working with donors and nonprofits, improving our world through the power of philanthropy. For more information, go to cfneg.org.